1851, Cowes, England. The schooner America sails across the Atlantic to take on 15 of the Royal Yacht Squadron's best in a race around the Isle of Wight. The rest is history. For the past 162 years, the quest to win what became the America's Cup has continued. Today, the showdown resumes in San Francisco. Emirates Team New Zealand, the challenger, is on the precipice of claiming the cup for the third time. But the American defender are doing everything they can to keep the cup in the USA. Early on, Oracle were down, but they are not out.
Oracle is totally in control at this stage, Todd. They've done a really nice job.
The team's going toe-to-toe over the weekend, trading wins. Race number 9, day number 6 of the 34th America's Cup belongs to the Americans. New Zealand are leading.
This is all about pace. Phenomenal job by Team New Zealand keeping the overlap.
2 wins today, and the cup is theirs. Race number 10 will go the way of the challenger. Emirates Team New Zealand will pick up the victory, behind by 6. The USA's only defense is all-out attack. A brand new class, a bold new vision, new chapter in one of the world's oldest sporting stories. This is the 34th America's Cup. And once again, we welcome you to beautiful San Francisco, California on the west coast of the United States for what could be a clinching day at the 34th America's Cup. Alongside Ken Reed and Gary Jobson, I am Todd Harris. Glad to have you with us on a picture-perfect day in San Francisco. Today, it's all about winning because the Americans can have to do just that. 2 more losses, and it's over.
Well, Oracle is quite confident, Todd, for a team that's behind 7-1. But newfound pace getting better by the day has made them believe that there is hope. Keep in mind, though, if they were playing almost any other sport, a lead like this for the other team would mean the event is just about over. And Emirates Team New Zealand knows they're in for a battle with extra speed found by Oracle halfway through the event. But they have their standard Kiwi confidence and the knowledge that they have only 2 more races to go to make history and raise the cup again.
Emirates Team New Zealand, the challenger. The defenders, Oracle Team USA, trying to hold on to what they believe is theirs, with the Kiwis wanting to take it back to the Southern Hemisphere. Let's meet the squad of the defenders, Oracle Team USA.
Grinders Shannon Falcone and Joe Spooner remain in position for a team that has only changed 1 crew member during this entire event. Then the Oracle Grinders, they have youth and experience with 12 Bob Ocean races and America's Cup combined spread out amongst them. Wing trimmer Kyle Langford was in a tough spot entering this cup, replacing suspended sailor Dirk de Ritter, but has clearly shown bright for this Oracle team. And in the afterguard, the pressure is squarely on Jimmy Spithill as the evenness of speeds now puts a huge premium on who's ahead at Mark 1.
So with the Americans needing 8 more wins to retain the cup, the pressure is firmly on this team to do the job today on day number 8. And the pressure is solely on the shoulders of the helmsman, Jimmy Spithill.
Oh, we want this more than anything. I mean, that's why we've been working so hard the past few years. Both teams do. And I think that's why you're seeing such great racing out on the water. Today it's a little lighter, but, you know, our forecast, we could get up to 16 knots, but definitely both races will be done today.
Ken Reed, introduce us to Emirates Team New Zealand.
Adam Bichel and Jeremy Lomas run the daggerboard hydraulic functions. And as we've seen, the daggerboard angles are a major feature in these AC-72s. In the grinder pit, we see Grant Dalton back on board today, scheduled to sail both races. Grinders on the 72s work at 90% heart rate for the entire 25-minute race. Trimmers Glenn Ashby and James Dagg control the hard foil and the soft foil, which propels the boats at speeds never seen in Cup racing. And Dean Barker and Ray Davies know that to close out the Cup likely means winning 2 starts in a row. Not easy against a desperate Jimmy Spithill.
Will this be the day that Dean Barker and his squad are able to take the America's Cup back to New Zealand? Barker is going to take it one race at a time, and he will make sure that his squad is focused clearly on race number 11 first up.
Well, we can't control what they're going to do. We can only control what we're doing, and we've got a clear game plan of how we're going to sail. We attack things aggressively, and it looks like nice conditions. I think we'll have two probably quite different races in a way. I think the first one sort of more medium conditions, and then the second one could be quite lumpy and wavy with a strong ebb tide. So quite a variety of conditions, and I think it's going to be how well both teams adapt to the change.
Day 6 of the 34th America's Cup saw the best racing of the series so far. Oracle Team USA started the day pumped up with a real spring in their step. They believe that they are now the comeback kings. Jimmy Spithill, aggressive as ever, made his intentions quite clear in the day's first race. The Cup defenders nailed it. A masterful job by Jimmy Spithill, Ben Ainsley, and Tom Slingsby as the Americans have the lead as they head to mark number 1. Oracle Team USA rounded the first mark, 4 seconds in the lead, and headed off down the track towards Alcatraz. Dean Barker and Emirates Team New Zealand hung on patiently, waiting to pounce as usual on the upwind leg. On board Oracle Team USA, their new confidence was obvious.
From my eye, looking at it, I think Oracle Team USA is sailing a little bit faster and gaining.
Each and every maneuver sharp and quick. Boat and crew clicked. They were flying. Then the upwind leg. Surely this is where things would go wrong and the Kiwis would close, strike, and lead. The improved boat handling and newfound speed was paying obvious dividends. The defenders' upwind horror show failed to materialize. Oracle Team USA stretched away with a 16-second lead. Heading for home, the comeback kings were on fire and finally on the scoreboard, crossing the line 47 seconds ahead of the Kiwis. The home crowd loved it, as did Larry Ellison. Surely the Kiwis, still stuck on 6 wins, would now be rattled, but if they were, Dean Barker and his crew didn't show it. The day's second race was the best and tightest race of the regatta. The start was breathtaking. The Kiwis held their nerve and line.
Phenomenal job by Team New Zealand keeping the overlap.
But Spithill and company were literally tight behind. It was neck and neck. The racing was totally absorbing, beat by beat. The lead changed hands 4 times on the upwind leg. The tactics and boat handling thrilled all who watched. But then on the run-up to the final mark, at about 40 knots plus, the Kiwis went in front. The defender couldn't respond. Emirates Team New Zealand won the day's thrilling second race. For the Kiwis, it was a pressure-relieving win. In the press conference that followed, skipper Dean Barker summed up Day 6's racing in a nutshell.
If you didn't enjoy today's racing out there, then you probably should watch another sport.
And there is a live look at the course, the start box that we will be entering here momentarily, and the Golden Gate Bridge in the distance. Weather always a factor here, and that is something that has played a little bit of a havoc on the 34th America's Cup, but we are fighting through it as we take a look at the scores, 7 wins to 3 wins. So the Kiwis now need just 2 more victories, and the America's Cup is theirs for the Americans. They need 8 victories to retain the Cup here in the United States. As we were talking about the weather, the man in the know, always on the water, the third member of our broadcast team is Gary Jobson. Gary, how does it look today? Do you think we're going to get 2 races in?
Well, I sure hope we get 2 races in. Right now, we're going to get 1 race, even though we're close to the limit. Here's the story, Todd. The current is going to be sweeping out of San Francisco Bay, the ebb current. It's going to get stronger. With that, the waves are going to get bigger. And so these sailors are going to have to be able to shift gears with the changing conditions. But like Dean Barker said, I want to watch this sport. It's going to be pretty good today.
No question about it. More from Gary Jobson throughout the day's racing, and there's a little bit of animation coming to you and showing you just how strong that ebb tide is, Ken, the water that is flowing out of the San Francisco Bay.
That's right. Ebb current today, 2 knots flowing outside. You know, what this has really affected as much as anything, Todd, is the starts. The boat into the starting box first, or the port entry boat, is New Zealand in this first race. They've had a big advantage because of this ebb current in the last 3 starts that we've watched. So look for that to happen right out of the gates for the Kiwis. Good advantage to the Kiwis. Then we get into the race course. It's the same race course. This quick blast reach towards the shoreline. We go 1.5 laps up and down the waterfront. Again, this is great new feature to this America's Cup. And then, of course, the quick reach back into the finish right off of America's Cup Park.
As we onboard both boats, Emirates Team New Zealand, the 14 is Dean Barker, the skipper and helmsman. And then on the right-hand side, just dipping in out of the picture on the right there is Jimmy Spithill. To his right is 4-time Olympic champion Ben Ainsley, who is acting now as tactician. And we will have you covered from all angles, sounds, and pictures, so you can enjoy the racing firsthand like never before here at the 34th America's Cup. So the positioning begins, as Ken pointed out, Emirates Team New Zealand will have port entry. And for Oracle Team USA, really the pressure on them to keep this regatta going.
No more daily splits, Todd. These guys have to win 2 races today. I think it's that simple. They probably left the dock this morning thinking this is it. This is life as we know it if we want to continue with the America's Cup.
So there you see the current as the countdown continues. The flags are up, and we are now under 3 minutes to go at 2:10. Emirates Team New Zealand will enter on the left side of your screen. They get the 10-second advantage to get in there, and some might argue whether it's an advantage or not, Ken, but it's bottom line, it's for safety purposes.
It is for safety purposes, and again, this ebb current has really changed this pre-race strategy for these guys. This being able to enter the box early has allowed these guys to set up really low, what's called low in the box, away from the wind, as we see it pan out on the left side of our screen. The other boat has had a hard time matching that pushing, blocking. The guy who enters first is the blocker, and it seems to be advantaged.
So in a case of tic-tac-toe, Emirates Team New Zealand gets to put their X down first, and the Americans will have to respond, and then the strategy is on. So Dean Barker coming close to the line at 2:10. They have now entered into the start box, and we are set to go racing. Day number 8, race number 11.
Todd, I think the pressure is squarely on Oracle here. It's probably an understatement. Team New Zealand, if they think about this, they can sail pretty loose, really be aggressive in the start. If I were the Kiwis, I'd be super aggressive in this start, because you win the start, there's a reasonable chance you can go on to win the race.
One quick difference between the 2 boats. I noticed that the New Zealand jib, the forward sail, is larger in area than the American boat.
Well, we turn to the president of North Sales. Ken, do you think that's an advantage for the Kiwis, or the Americans got it wrong?
I think these guys know exactly what their boat needs. Both boats are different, probably different in how they're balanced, and I think we can't doubt that these guys have the correct jib up for the right condition, both of them. You know, Team New Zealand actually headed back for the start line a little earlier than I thought they would in this particular situation, but look for them to really protect down to the left side of their boat as Oracle approaches from behind.
Same as the other day.
I heard Ray Davies say same as the other day. They're really going to protect that bottom lay line, that left side of the track here right now.
Trim. Get the height.
20 seconds to the line.
Big advantage Kiwis right now. They're both very firm on the wind right now, Gary.
New Zealand looking very strong, Ken.
Kiwis will have the advantage at the line. Better positioning, and they are closer to mark number 1.
And they're just going to luff these guys right now. They're going to get them slow. Even though the starting gun is already gone, they're going to try to get them slow and really make a big gain once their speeds really park. Great job by Dean Barker, really well thought out. Again, that port entry was the difference. They never relinquished being the blocker, in that starting sequence.
Actually, I think Spinhill did a good job hanging in there, being patient, and only being a length behind after that first start.
And now it's the drag race to mark number 1. Emirates Team New Zealand first to the circle. They'll make the left-hand turn with the Americans close behind. This is race number 11 on day number 8, and it's a 3-second advantage to the Kiwis.
You can see the differences in size of the jib. Notice the New Zealand jib is bigger.
And the Americans are the first to peel off.
You heard the tactician Ray Davies on board Emirates Team New Zealand say, we'll just drag this out a little bit longer. They're not worried about their air getting the dirty air, disturbed air coming from Oracle. They're just going to look to spread it out a little bit here and start planning for later in the leg. Find the right time and the right breeze pressure to jibe in.
As New Zealand executes their first jibe, we go back and look at mark number 1, and we go back to the start, and this is where it all happened. How about this strategy? Basically just shutting the Americans down as the Kiwis pull in front.
And the Kiwis had to pull away at this stage. They couldn't wait any longer because they had actually just snuck forward enough to break the overlap. So Oracle actually got out of jail got out of jail free card there by the overlap being broken. Still, great job by Dean Barker.
And the call for the bear away as the Americans tried to get up to speed quickly, but you notice their holes really got dug down deep in the water.
Yeah, it's tough. Both of these boats have really narrow forward sections, but the Americans' really narrow bow section of their boat tends to dig in when they try to accelerate, but it didn't make much of a difference. They were up on the foils quick.
The lead is over 115 meters, so it's the Kiwis out in front. The Americans trying to close the gap. Remember, this is a 5-leg race. This is the first race scheduled today, and if Mother Nature cooperates, we'll have a second race in which the Kiwis, if they won this race, could wrap it up and take home the America's Cup. Dean Barker very happy with that jibe.
I noticed the American boat sailing a much slower course than a New Zealand boat, and they're gaining being able to do that.
Not much in this right now, Todd. You see, it's amazing, 2 boats going 38 knots, and there'd only be a meter here or there being gained or lost between the 2 boats. It just shows you how far this sport has come, how far this America's Cup has come.
40 seconds this way. Try and build if we can here. 30 seconds.
And as they approach gate number 2, Gary Jobson, what do you see as far as tactics? Which way do you think the Kiwis will go when they look for a split?
Well, I think the Kiwis got to use the ebb current. It's going to be a little stronger out in the middle of the bay. I look for New Zealand to take the right gate, and on the opposite side, the USA to take the left gate.
I think the Kiwis have actually done a really nice job, Todd, kind of suckering Oracle off onto one side of the race course. What this is going to do is really potentially increase the possibilities of not having a split. And when you're the boat ahead, you don't want to split at this bottom gate. You want both boats going around the same side. Now, just as I said that, I think we just heard Spithill say right turn down here. So maybe they're going to do a forced last-second turn. This is a really tough maneuver if you're Oracle Team USA.
And at mark number 2, the Kiwis head to the far gate, and the Americans do indeed split the course. So what was a 3-second lead at mark number 1, the Americans now trail by 6 seconds, but they've got their split.
But a really good rounding by Oracle. That's an incredibly hard maneuver on board these boats. Grinding hydraulics, grinding sails, grinding dagger boards up and down, and they've made it look very easy.
Too far away. Get a crosswind. Bring it up here. Yeah, that's too far away for boundary. Bring it up here on the breeze. Not that spiral. Yeah. Keep going, guys. Normal numbers. Nice and smooth.
And we have a lead change as the Americans have overtaken New Zealand here on leg number 3. The big question now is, can they make it stick?
But they're one tack behind. Now it's going to be this incredible contest of who starts getting the right-hand side again. If they're 2 even boats, could just be this dipping contest of who keeps trying to get starboard tack advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, they're gaining there.
As I look up the race course, I think the right side where New Zealand is, the wind is shifting in that direction toward Alcatraz Island. Better for New Zealand.
I think go earlier. Yeah, stand by here. Heat tech power.
This is all about whether Team New Zealand will have a 3 or so boat length lead. If they do, Todd, look for them to tack right in front of Oracle. If they don't, they're going to have to cross and start this whole dipping contest all over again. Crucial moment in the race early on, and they do a lead bow tack, trying to keep starboard tack. They thought they were far enough ahead, and clearly they weren't. This is a great move by Emirates Team New Zealand.
And the Americans decide to tack away. But we've seen this play out before where the Kiwis basically are in control of this race.
But this is a little different than the last race because the Kiwis got to set this whole process up well over on the left side of the race course. They get to shorten the track here a little bit and possibly start bouncing Oracle off that left-hand boundary. Here they go. They're going to go right back at them.
Getting wide. 3, 2, 1, tackle.
A simultaneous tack from both the Americans and New Zealand. This is leg 3 of 5, race number 11. The Kiwis need 2 more wins, and the cup is theirs.
And those 2 tacks on both boats were just perfect tacks. Same setup here, Todd. This graphic shows that really the current is negligible at this stage. There is no real favored side. So let's see if the Kiwis keep trying to bounce these guys the other way. And I'm very surprised they don't. Gary, they don't bounce them over to the short side of the track. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a mistake. I would tack right on them and keep pushing them left. The thing is, the wind is lighter down where they are right now, and that bigger jib that New Zealand has is helping them go through these maneuvers.
Todd, I'm really surprised they didn't just continue that bouncing contest and keep, by bouncing, I mean tacking on top of the other boat and pushing them to the short side of the racetrack.
Well, still a good move by Oracle to keep the tack going. Their strategy is to stay in the middle of the course. Oracle's doing that.
Taxi, okay, confirm it then. No problem. Still looking for a tiny bit 20 seconds. 10. Standing by. 3, 2, 1, tactic.
And the Kiwis decide now is the time to tack with a lead of more than 100 meters, but it will shrink here on this maneuver. The Kiwis have the lead on leg number 3. The question is, can they hold on to it?
Keep going here, boys.
Emirates Team New Zealand with the lead on both the course and the scoreboard. Looking to wrap up the America's Cup today on day number 8. 2 more wins, and Dean Barker and company are taking home the Cup back to Auckland.
One, tackle, a little out of here. Lighter. Copy. Tag. Going well here, boys. Keep it in. Seconds, Dino.
Halfway through leg number 3, Todd Harris, Gary Jobson, Ken Reed. The Emirates Team New Zealand boat has the lead by about 118 meters over Team USA. The Americans trying to find a sweet spot on this course, but right now the Kiwis are firmly in control of this race and dictating pretty much where the Americans are going.
Both boats are working on the left-hand side of the race course so hard. You got to believe that they see something out there, Gary, that they believe to be favored on this left side.
Yeah, the reason, Ken, they're working that left side is the ebb is started first. It's a little stronger right along the shoreline than it is out in the middle.
For a while, give ourselves room. Tom. No, we've got to go straight here for a while. Yeah. Open up the boundary. Missing a bit of immersion here, boys.
That's the voice, Todd, of tactician Ben Ainsley saying we got to go straight here for a little while.
The current does look better on the left side of the course,
Nice on
Kenny.
you here. Nice left-hander here. What? Heck, you got pressure out of this one.
Left-hander, the wind's coming from the side, right from the land. That will help New Zealand.
Todd, we aren't seeing either boat with any sort of real speed advantage here right now. This is a tactician's race as much as any other race we've seen in this event.
Names you need to know there. Ben Ainsley acting as tactician for Oracle Team USA, and the man with the 10 on his helmet, that is Ray Davies, the 41-year-old from New Zealand, is Dean Barker's tactician for Emirates. And the Americans going to that right side of the course are starting to close the gap, now within 60 meters.
On the bow and attack. A little bit further. Good move. Higher, lower, good move. I think we keep this going.
And there you see just how close it is with the Americans actually sailing a little bit faster, almost a full knot faster.
And they just popped up on their foils. It's just incredible speeds. These boats started this at the beginning of the week going 22, 23 knots upwind. Here they go in 28 or 29. And here's Oracle coming back at these guys. They're out in the middle of the race course. They'll start stirring it up again.
Setting into a lockdown here, Nino. Okay, setting up into a lockdown. Set up, stand by. Stand by.
New Zealand's going to keep their starboard advantage by continuing on here a couple lengths.
And the Kiwis decide now is the time to tack. And Ken, in this kind of close racing, as the Americans tack right back and look for the cross, how much could you steal from their boat and their call?
Well, I don't think we've ever seen such a tight tacking contest, like actual tacking duel, ever in catamarans. It shows how equal these boats actually are.
Kenny, as the boats work their way up to the windward mark, the wind is actually increasing up here, which will favor the boat ahead.
Todd, they're going to start looking to minimize maneuvers here. If Team New Zealand can just do one more tack and in, they'll probably do that and take the right-hand gate as we look out towards the Golden Gate Bridge, the right-hand mark.
All right, looking to leg number 4. Which side of the course would you want to be on?
Well, you get starboard tack advantage like we saw the other day. You round that right-hand gate. If the boats were ever close and they came together on the first crossing on the run, New Zealand would have the advantage.
Yeah, you want to stay away from the land going downwind on leg 4.
So the Kiwis take it all the way to the lay line on the left side of the course. We'll see if they can take it in all the way. And Jimmy Spithill and company look like they are set up as well.
Todd, that was not Oracle's best tack right there. They got down to 10 knots in that tack. They didn't pop that weather hull out of the water real quickly, and that cost them a little bit of time. New Zealand did a really nice job, Gary, at the top of this leg.
Yeah, he's across on leg line.
Very close cross here, but New Zealand looking good.
At mark number 3, the Kiwis, who had a 3-second lead at mark 1, a 6-second lead at mark number 2, and they will continue to pad that lead. This time it will be into the double digits as the Americans come through at gate number 3 and make the turn for home. They are now trailing Emirates Team New Zealand by 17 seconds.
Pressure here. Okay, let's set up. Gonna run out of this thing.
Oracle Team USA got into a tacking duel on leg number 3, and unfortunately for the Americans, it did not go their way. Emirates, who had been closed down by 25 meters to the Americans, now have a sizable lead of almost 200 meters. Perfect example of how one mistake can cost you a race. Oracle Team USA can have one bad tact on that upwind leg, and now they find themselves, just moments ago they were 25 meters behind the Kiwis, and there you see the lead, almost 300 meters.
But it was also the setup. They had to do one extra tack, Todd. I think that was even more important. Team New Zealand did a really nice job of bouncing them one additional time, of setting up that they only had to do one tack into that weather gate compared to Oracle's 2 tacks into the weather gate. That's the advantage that the boat ahead has if they play their cards correctly.
And a quick shot there of Ray Davies, the tactician for Emirates Team New Zealand, calling the race for Dean Barker, the skipper and helmsman.
As we said on leg number 1, the smallest differences in boat speed means it turns into a tactician's race. Obviously, Ray Davies, it was getting tight at that top mark. He nailed it, making Oracle do 2 jives. We'll know how nervous Team New Zealand here is in a second if they do 2 jives just to get over in front of Oracle. They seem pretty comfortable out there, though, right now, Todd.
And while we have a moment, we go on the water. Gary Jobson for more on the measurement configurations.
You know, I'm just looking at these 2 boats. They sailed right by us. And it seems to me that Oracle might have changed their boat to make it a little bit better for lighter winds, which were forecasted. Now the wind is up, and they might have slowed themselves down relative to New Zealand for these stronger winds.
They have closed the gap, which was over 300 meters. It is now just over 200 meters. So the Americans are gaining, but Canada, they're just going to run out of real estate here on the San Francisco Bay.
But they are gaining. They're sailing a lower angle out here. It looks to be a fairly dramatic wind shift, actually. They're sailing a lower angle all the time than Emirates Team New Zealand, staying parallel to that boundary. It's a very different course right now. The two of them are sailing. If I were on Emirates Team New Zealand, I'd be getting a little nervous.
I mean, Ken, this is the classic case where you simply want to cover. You have a 300-meter lead. New Zealand should have just jived over and stayed in front. Now the race is almost even.
They have cut it in half, Gary Jobson. As you pointed out, what was a 300-meter lead is now down to 153-meter lead.
Right now, Oracle's actually laying this gate, and Team New Zealand has to do 2 jives. They're going to come together. This is going to be pretty close.
And just to translate that, Kenny, are the Americans looking at going straight into mark number 4 without any more jives?
Well, in a perfect world they are, but this is the defining moment in the race. Not just a boat handling moment, but can Team New Zealand get across and plant themselves in front of Oracle?
New Zealand has a good chance to jive and block the wind of Oracle Team USA. So New Zealand is in the driver's seat.
I don't think Oracle's laying this gate right now, Gary, anyway. They've got lifted a little bit as the two boats have come together.
His drive's okay, he's clear ahead.
It's now under 100 meters, the lead for the Kiwis.
The little pressure showing on New Zealand there. That wasn't their best jive. Still a little loose on after the jive. Both boats are going to have to soak to get around this mark.
Soak, sail a lower course.
Thank you.
At mark number 4, the race is on. The Kiwis have relinquished a huge lead that was over 300 meters, and now it's down to about 85 meters, but just one leg to go as the Americans are close behind.
Both boats got really slow there. They ended up overstanding the mark, being slightly upwind of the mark, but it doesn't seem to matter. New Zealand is in dominant position again.
On board Oracle Team USA as they make the mark 18 seconds behind.
I think that look on Jimmy Spittle's face told the entire story.
The body language there, it was a great last-second gasp. You look like they closed it, and it almost seemed like Emirates Team New Zealand, Kenny, gave them the opening. As you pointed out, not their best jive in this regatta.
Surprising, but talk about being under pressure. They got the they got the America's Cup peeking around the corner right now. It just wasn't their best jive. They need to be a little smoother in those tough, tight spots, but just enough to stay ahead.
You know, Kenny, if that wind had stayed the same direction for Oracle Team USA for about 30 more seconds, they would have been exactly even. The wind did them in.
Day number 8, race number 11 belongs to Emirates Team New Zealand. The Kiwis now just one win away from the America's Cup. With a fantastic third and fourth leg. It just wasn't to be. As Gary pointed out, the wind did them in, and they just didn't have enough pressure to catch them. So the Kiwis are now on the precipice of taking away the America's Cup from Oracle Team USA. Race number 11 goes to Emirates Team New Zealand. Dean Barker, his tactician Ray Davies, a fantastic job, and they now will begin the setup for what could be the defining moment for Emirates Team New Zealand.
Pretty good. It seems like, you know, that was that same lane where it got a bit, he made a little bit of a gain, you know, to lure it going out on port there, you know, just, that was the only time he gained.
That's the classic conversation between the skipper. You're trying to come up with all the reasons in the world why your boat is plenty fast. So the other guy gained because of wind shifts, you gained because of boat speed. That's classic skipper talk right there.
And the Kiwi population continues to grow in San Francisco as Emirates Team New Zealand is now just one race away from claiming the 34th America's Cup.
Rumor has it there's about 3 cars total on the streets in Auckland, New Zealand as we speak.
Productivity down under not happening today as everyone is glued to their television sets to see if the oldest trophy in international sport is in fact coming back to New Zealand.
Great start by Dean Barker. That's really, that was it, right? There was actually no passes in this race. Fantastic start by Dean Barker. Did exactly what he had to do with that port tack advantage that he had off the starting line.
Now, I know Dean Barker could care less about TV and TV ratings, but he did a fantastic job on leg number 4 to get people glued to their TV because what was a 300-meter lead cut down to 70 meters, and it was an impressive performance by Oracle Team USA, but in the end, it was Emirates Team New Zealand and Dean Barker that gets the win. As Dean Barker brings it around, they get ready for what will be race number 12. Dean, congratulations on the victory. That was some amazing stuff. Take us back to the start. Was it a preset plan knowing what you were going to do and expecting what Jimmy would retaliate with?
Well, you're never really quite sure how it's going to play out. You know, we had a bit of an idea how we wanted to attack it, and it worked out about as well as it could have. You know, we had a nice little jump, so had a good first run. You know, bottom mark, another split, and then, you know, sort of backwards and forwards a bit after that. So, yeah, you know, obviously very happy to sneak away with another win.
Hey, Dino, obviously the boat coming in from the port side where you guys came in that time, and this ebb current is having a big advantage. What do you guys got strategically to try to fend off Oracle, who has that port tack advantage this time around?
Well, it's tough. You know, there's no two ways about it because you've got to try and drag the action off the ley line, and you don't have a lot of time if their timing's good. So, yeah, not easy.
Dean, I'm wondering if you think Oracle's a little slower going upwind than we saw this weekend.
Oh, they're not slow. Oh, it'd be nice if they were a bit slower. Yeah, it's just you know, two boats which are pretty even in performance. So, you know, not a lot to separate them.
Dean, play weatherman for us momentarily. As you look out there, and what kind of information are you getting? Does it look like you're going to be able to get race 12 in today?
Well, it's the biggest issue is going to be just the ebb tide. It's you know, the factor I think for the second race is going to be nearly 3 or around 3, and that's obviously going to be. You know, I mean, you can only have about 20 knots of breeze, which, you know, we sort of had at the start line earlier. But, you know, who knows? It's you know, we'd love to get another race away, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Have you and your crew allowed yourself the opportunity to think about what could be with one more win?
Oh, not at all. No, it's every one here. It's just so hard. You're just monumental battles, and you know, you're just thankful for every win you get, and you know, if we can get one more, well, that'll be very cool. But you know, we're certainly not even contemplating you know, what would happen.
Dean, we appreciate your time. We'll let you get ready for the second race.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers, guys.
Dean Barker, the skipper and helmsman of Emirates Team New Zealand, as they prepare for what could be the defining moment for Emirates. Race number 12 is scheduled to get away here in about 15, 20, you know, make it 25 minutes if the ebb tide and the wind cooperate. As we now go on board Oracle Team USA, Jimmy Spithill, the helmsman. Jimmy, that was one heck of a race. The start probably not where you wanted to be, but wow, you guys came charging back, and this thing was neck and neck as we got to that last mark.
Yeah, obviously we messed up the time and distance on the start, and straight out of the drive we were just late, so big mistake there. But the boys put in a great effort, and you know, really started to grind them down, and it was all on right till the finish. So, you know, we've just got to get back into it and get on with the next one.
Hey, Jimmy, I just asked Dean the same thing, but this port tack, the boat that gets into the starting box early, seems to have a big jump in this ebb tide. You guys have it this time. What can the other guy do? What can you do at that stage?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think the option in hindsight for us was probably just to try and jive and go in front. So, yeah, I mean, that's probably the only thing in hindsight we could have done.
You know, Jimmy, the ebb current's going to be building here now. creating a little bit more chop. Based on what we saw this weekend, do you favor having more chop for your boat?
I just think we favour more wind, to be honest. I don't think the chop's too much of an issue, because if the breeze is up, then pretty much on the foils upwind as well. So, yeah, look, as long as it brings more wind, I think we'll be happy.
All right, Jimmy, give us a prediction, and what's the message going to be to you and the crew as you get ready for this 12th race today?
It's not over. It's a long way from over.
Jimmy, thanks for your time. Best of luck to you. Jimmy Spithill, the skipper and helmsman of Oracle Team USA, as they have one more race scheduled for today. And if they do not get the win, they will relinquish ownership of the America's Cup. So everyone now looking at the wind gauges and watching the tide. As we said, coming into today, it is a 21-second wind limit. Will we get the race off, and will the Kiwis be able to wrap up, or can the Americans extend? Let's go back to the start, Ken. Emirates Team New Zealand got the port entry, and they made it pay.
They absolutely made it work. They become the classic blocker all the way down at this bottom end, the leeward end of the starting line. This is now many starts in a row that the first person into the box is the person that's gone on to win the start. And they not only win the start, but they do a little damage afterwards by holding Oracle up, getting them slow, and then taking off for the mark. Now, one thing Oracle did here, they got slow enough to break the overlap. Team New Zealand's forced to sail away. Actually, Oracle did a pretty good job, like Gary said, just keeping it close after this really dominant start by Dean Barker.
We take you on board, and you can listen in to what was happening between the two crews.
They're not exchanging Christmas cards at this stage.
Quick acceleration by the Kiwis. They were the first ones to get to Mark 1, but the Americans, Ken, just 3 seconds behind.
This is all they need. The Kiwis, we kind of thought the more even the boats get, the more this first mark rounding becomes crucial, and sure enough, they last all the way to the end.
Mark number 2, and the Americans set themselves up perfectly, and this may have been one of the best maneuvers Oracle Team USA has pulled off all regatta long.
A really hard maneuver to do this last second jibe with everything that has to happen. Boards up and down, board angles changing, wing camber changes, jib brought to the other side for just 11 guys in the boat. Nearly impossible, yet they pulled it off.
And here's how close it got on leg number 3. The Americans closed it down, and it became somewhat of an attacking war. But the Kiwis, did they let him off the hook, not bouncing him off on the left side of the course?
Well, it was interesting strategy. Obviously, these guys had talked it well through, and they liked the left-hand side of the race course down low. They both favored that side of the race course. Americans stayed out of sequence. They had one tack that really dropped them down to like 10 knots here. That's a slow tack these days. It kind of was reminiscent of an old Oracle tack, not the new Oracle tacks. This cost them a little bit of ground plus the one extra tack. That's all he needed to have.
And here it was at mark number 4. After trailing by 300 meters, the Americans closed it down to less than 100 meters. Dean Barker doing a masterful job protecting his line and pretty much just brought Oracle Team USA to almost a halt.
Well, I mean, classic match racing. You don't care how fast you're going around the mark as long as you stay between yourself, between your opponent and the finish line.
And the 8th win of this America's Cup now in the books for for Emirates Team New Zealand, and they are 1 win away from taking the cup away from Oracle Team USA. So as we take a look at the numbers, we'll start with the upwind statistics this time. And this has normally been in the first 4 or 5 races of this regatta, really what has been hurting Oracle Team USA.
Yeah, interesting. Upwind. Oracle Team USA sailed, what this says, probably sailed a little bit higher and a little bit slower. They sailed a shorter distance, but a little bit slower, actually considerably slower, over a knot slower. So different modes possibly between the two boats. Team New Zealand did one extra tack early in the leg. Oracle had to do one extra tack late in the leg. That last tack by Oracle ended up being pretty crucial in the final outcome of the race, Todd.
As we take a look at virtual eye, and here it is, the animation as they make their way around, coming down, and there was that beautiful jibe by the Americans. That really started the comeback.
That's right. There's tack number one. Team New Zealand goes all the way across to the left-hand side. Kind of a drag race. They make a little gain right at the end, and then it just turns into a match race. What a concept between two catamarans. I was surprised there early. They kind of mid-leg that Team New Zealand got out of sequence with them, but they didn't let them stray very far. Here's where they make the kill right at the end. They force them to do one extra tack and develop a couple 100-yard lead by the time they get to that gate.
So the wind continues to come down through the Golden Gate Bridge. The good news is the last reading on peak was only at 16 knots. So that is the good news when you factor in our wind limit today being 21, and the ebb tide continues to build throughout the day. And here are your downwind stats.
Very close in boat speeds. Again, Oracle Team USA actually sailed a little bit shorter distance. Kind of interesting. I'm surprised, but slightly slower speed, about a half a knot. So that was probably the difference. Then you go over to maximum speed. Oracle, again, that's kind of the glamour shot. That doesn't really make a huge amount of difference in the rate. But look at the jibes, Todd. 2 extra jibes by Oracle. That 1 extra for sure would have been right at the end of the leg. On leg number 2 to get them a split around that gate.
And Virtual Eye gives us a good look at this as they pull away from the Golden Gate Bridge and head down. And this was on leg number 4. And really, the Americans here, you're thinking, well, it was a good try. They're down 360 meters. And then look at this.
Yeah, big split. Now, that could be a little tidal. Like the tide, the extra tide might create a different breeze out there. That's kind of rare. That was a big wind shift, a big difference. And then here comes, of course, the crucial part. Oracle didn't quite have the angle enough to get down to this mark. Team New Zealand just makes it a little bit earlier. Classic block. Position yourself between the mark and your opponent, and they go on to win the race.
So the flag of New Zealand is flying proud as they are 1 race away from taking the America's Cup. They would own it for the 3rd time in their history, and the leaderboard says it all. 8 wins to 3. Emirates Team New Zealand is knocking on the doors. We go down on the very choppy water here in the San Francisco Bay and check in with Gary Jobson prior to race number 12.
Well, Todd, first of all, the wind looks good for a second race, so I feel really good about that. And apparently we're going to have a crew change. Winston McFarland going in for Grant Dalton. I don't know if that's a good move or not. Grant Dalton seems to be lucky charm. But I'm putting my head inside Oracle Team USA right now. Ben Ainsley, the master tactician, the 4-time Olympic gold medalist, and Jimmy Spithill. These boys have to sail their race of their life. Do they go aggressive right now on the start, or do they go conservative? My advice would be go as aggressive as you can, get that lead at all costs, and then just be careful from that point. If they throttle back now, they're going to be finished.
All right, good stuff, Jabo. More from you as we get ready for race number 12 as the fans continue to make their way down to America's Cup Park on an absolutely beautiful day here in September in San Francisco. The weather is perfect. The wind is just right. We are set to go racing. Will today belong to the Kiwis? We'll stick around and find out. Calling those magic moments of the America's Cup is a big responsibility. One man whose voice resounded in 1995 when Team New Zealand won in San Diego is PJ Montgomery.
The America's Cup is now New Zealand's Cup, the most illustrious and elusive of prizes in sailing. International sport's oldest prize leaves the United States, this time to a different down under, New Zealand!
On the morning of the 13th of May 1995, I woke up and I thought this could be big for New Zealand, so I better think about it. And it was about halfway down the last leg that I came together with the America's Cup is now New Zealand's Cup. So, and that managed to summarise, and I extended that in 2000. If it was to happen here in San Francisco 2013, I mean, it's a challenge. How do you say, I left my heart in San Francisco but taken the cup. I mean, there's something jarring, and so I've got a challenge in how you can succinctly summarise it in less than 10 seconds, preferably 6, in those words, and use the words America's Cup as well. So now you've prompted me, I'll start thinking about it.
For a country not known for public displays of emotion, the victory parade in New Zealand was epic.
I was asked to go back for the welcome home parades in the 4 main cities in New Zealand. I'll never forget turning the corner out of Custom Street and looking up Queen Street, the main street in Auckland. There were so many people. There were conservative estimates of 350,000 there that day.
Just have a look down here. Look at the faces of these kids.
PJ followed the story through New Zealand's second Cup victory in Auckland in 2000.
The America's Cup is still New Zealand's Cup.
Then the loss in 2003 with Dean Barker on the helm.
That was tough on him. But I think, like most people, the best teacher you've got is your mistakes. And Dean has got that, and he's learnt from that a lot.
Well, very different, you know, a lot older, hopefully a bit wiser. You know, they've been through, you know, some traumatic times and shared a lot of success as well with the guys that we've had together. This team, you know, is just phenomenal, and you know, I'm very proud to be part of it.
I think for anybody to win the America's Cup under whatever circumstances, it's sailing's most illustrious and most elusive prize. It's the hardest to win, and for anybody to win it, however they do, is definitely a medal on the chest.
Welcome again to America's Cup Park here in San Francisco. Hi, I'm Tucker Thompson, joined by Cup sailors Ian Percy, the skipper and tactician of Artemis Racing, and Chris Draper, the helmsman from Luna Rossa Challenge. Well, if you are an Emirates Team New Zealand fan, you have to be impressed and happy with that last race. The Kiwis are now only 1 race away from winning the America's Cup. And guys, if you're Oracle Team USA, you'd have to be impressed with the performance gains that they've made in the past week or so. But Ian, Emirates Team New Zealand has been dominant throughout this regatta and again in that last race. Why do you think that is?
One thing, time on the water, Tucker. They were outfoiling these boats over a year ago. The rest of us have been playing catch up the whole way. They've done an excellent campaign. They've come up with the innovation, and we've just been trying to catch up.
And Chris, it would seem almost insurmountable for Oracle Team USA to come from behind and win all of the races that they need to do. But what can they do to improve?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, they've got to win 100% of the races. But I mean, still, you've got to give them so much credit for the amount that they've improved. And we've all seen it's very, very obvious. And I mean, again, that race was an incredible race. And just like Ian says, the Kiwis are just the model example. It's campaigning these boats, and Oracle have caught up to them, and it's such a shame for them that they're just that tiny step behind. But it's not to say that they couldn't still do it, but it's like you say, it's a mountain to climb.
Well, let's get into how that race went down. We begin with the pre-start where Dean Barker stuffed up Jimmy Spithill. Here we go.
An issue here again. We've seen it a little bit through the whole week. Team USA, Oracle with their time distance. Late again on this start. I think maybe they had an opportunity to jump them in the pre-start. That means to jibe in front. We heard Jimmy talk about that in his post-race interview. After that, it became a really tough race for Oracle.
Yeah, there was the result of what happened from the luff. After this, we're going to go back and look at it again on virtual eye, but there they are slowing the Americans down. The Kiwis, under the rules, they get the rights to put their bow down first, right, Chris? And there's the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Jimmy actually did a pretty good job of minimising the loss there. Like it opened up the gauge a little bit and gave himself a swing, which was good. And he was sort of up there on his tail. It could have been a lot worse for them if they had have got slowed up. And given the situation he ended up in, he did a pretty good job. But Dean really did dominate that start.
So here's a look at how it went down again, this time on virtual. You can see the graphics. There's the luff from Dean Barker. What could Jimmy Spithill have done at all? His timing was a little off there, right?
Yeah, I think the mistake was made at about 50 seconds to go. There was the opportunity they had to lead into the start line. They chose to follow and push, as we call it. From there, it was going to be tough. Team New Zealand had done a great job. They were down on the ley line. They defended well. as we said, once again, this is a tough position to be in for Oracle.
So there you see the difference heading into mark number 1, the Kiwis out in front. Now going downwind, we had a look at the leeward gates. That's where we got a split initiated, which was pretty important in the race as well. And we're going to look at that next.
Yeah, this was actually a fantastic maneuver by Oracle. Not many people who haven't seen these boats close up realize how hard what they did here was. And to be this close behind, often you could lose 20 seconds doing that maneuver. They hardly lost anything. I really take my hat off to those guys for pulling that off.
So the split gets initiated. Now we look at it on virtual, and we're going to speed things up and zoom in so you can see, Chris, what was going on with the tactics on board. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great call from Oracle to head out to the left early because they headed into a nice bit of current that they got a nice little benefit from then. And then Team New Zealand hit them here, bounced them back off to the left. But from here sort of onwards, it was pretty open. And I mean, I was sat watching it quite surprised that Razor didn't hit Oracle a little bit more. And they actually sailed kind of in some ways quite a loose upwind. But I was chatting with Person about it a minute ago, and he sort of highlighted how important it is in this sort of breeze and with the current on getting towards the changeover just to stay in sequence with the shifts. So I think Team New Zealand did a great job of that. And then as we got towards the upper part of the beat, that was when they made their final gain, when they were able to get to the situation where they could lay the right-hand mark in 1, and Oracle didn't quite have that. And I thought at first when Oracle tacked away that they could have stayed with Team New Zealand, but I think in hindsight, they probably wouldn't have laid the right-hand mark.
A lot going on that beat. You'd have to give some credit to Oracle Team USA, but obviously more to Emirates Team New Zealand. We start heading downwind. The Americans did reel the Kiwis in quite a bit with a left-hand wind shift. Now we'll look at the leeward mark where both teams were slow here, Ian.
Yeah. Well, the only game here for Oracle was to try and get on the inside, so they pushed it as much as they could. It left them an extra jibe to go in, which made the race look a little less close than it actually was. The truth is that was their only option to pass. They went for it and ended up trailing a little bit more. But, you know, that was a great run by Oracle. They made it close. There must have been some nervous people on Emirates Team New Zealand before they managed to cross.
And that was all that made the difference. The Kiwis sprinting into the finish line, and they will take that race. Now they're just 1 race away. Race number 10 in the America's Cup by many people was said to be possibly one of the best in history due to what went on. So we're going to take a look at that real quick, and we'll see if we're going to see a repeat of that in this next race. Here we go.
I think this was a vital moment for the America's Cup right here. USA about to roll into Mark 1. That meant they would have led at Mark 1 just before this overlap here. A big lull, a big hole in the wind hit us, just about to come up. The boat will stop very shortly. And here they go, they fall into windward. Team New Zealand, hold on. Our sport is not only just about skill, we have Mother Nature to contend with. And for me, that time, she shone on Team New Zealand, and it might have been the thing that changed this whole cup around.
There it is again.
And here it is, coming in from another angle. They're getting ready to roll, coming over the top. And bang, they hit the water. And it's those small differences that can define something as important as this trophy.
So, Chris, if you're Oracle Team USA, possibly the last race of the Cup for them, what do you say to your team?
Like Jimmy said on the commentary, on the interview after the race, I mean, they just have to put that race out the back of their minds. They can only treat it like every other race that they have over the last days, but obviously they're going to go out full aggressive and everything that they've got, and we've seen that they've been doing that since the start. So I'm sure they'll have an amazing race, and hopefully for all of us we'll see another one just like that.
Well, the pressure couldn't be any greater on Oracle Team USA. They have to win 8 races in a row to retain the America's Cup. The pressure is huge. All eyes are going to be on this next race, which will likely define the America's Cup. Either way, this will be a cup the world will never forget.
All eyes now start to turn to the next edition of the America's Cup, the 35th. One team who have already thrown their hat in the ring, regardless of the outcome, is Artemis Racing, who challenged unsuccessfully in San Francisco. Billionaire backer Torbjorn Tornqvist has just made skipper Ian Percy overall team manager.
Primarily my role now is to form a talented group of designers, builders, sailors who are keen to work together in a fun environment, a collegiate environment, to create something very special, to become the dominant sailing team of the next decade. I think we've certainly got the potential to do that with Torbjörn. He's our unique selling point. He's fantastic to work for, great man, and obviously has the ability to allow us to make quick decisions, and I think that's very important at this time.
Ian is a true leader, so his leadership has been tremendous for the team, sailing team, and his belief that this is possible is one of the key factors that we're here today.
Whoever wins the Cup decides where it will be hosted and how it will be contested.
Russell and Larry had a vision of this fast catamarans, this close racing, and a lot of people worried that, yeah, there'd be fast boats, but there wouldn't be the closest of racing. And on the contrary, for the first generation of a new craft, we've seen races finishing within seconds. We've never had that before. Hats off to them. They really have got it right. And they've had detractors for many years, and I do feel happy for them that they've presented such a fantastic product. I think now our sport's stacking up against all others as the most interesting and exciting out of any sport out there. For me personally, every lead change affects the future of the America's Cup, the future of sailing, and the future of Artemis racing. Every time there's a lead change, I start working out the implications for availability of designers and sailors, for the next boats, for the venue, the time. We really don't know the future, and it's been the beauty of the Cup for centuries. I'm excited about the future. I expect to see a lot more keen teams wanting to win this great trophy.
As we get prepared for race number 12 here on day number 8 of the 34th America's Cup, all eyes shift to the bay here in San Francisco. Oracle Team USA has no more wiggle room. They cannot yield another loss or it is over. They will need to win 8 straight. Meanwhile, for New Zealand, it is all about picking up one more win. One more win, and the America's Cup is heading back to New Zealand. Dean Barker and company looking as calm and cool as they did on race number 1. As they look in and get as much telemetry and information as possible. The one advantage I guess the Americans could have is they have port entry. As we go down on the water with Gary Jobson for a little bit of a historical fact, and Gary, a report on the weather and if we're going to get the second race off.
Well, first, we're going to get the race off. The weather looks pretty good. It's going to be an exciting one. I can't wait. Hey, September 18th is a big day in America's Cup history. 3 times Defenders won. 1930, Enterprise beat Shamrock 5. 1967, Intrepid with a couple of young guys, David Elwell and George Hyman, who later became Commodores of the New York Yacht Club. They won the Cup. And hey, I can't forget 1977 when I got to sail with Ted Turner aboard Courageous when we beat Australia. Also in September 18th, Australia 2 had lost 2 in a row, came back and won the 3rd race and went on to win 3 or 4 to take the Cup away from the Americans. And if that wasn't enough on September 18th, 1962, Gretel 2 in race 2 went surfing past Weatherly to take the race. It was a great moment. September 18th, a big day. Is it going to be another big day? We're going to find out very shortly.
All right, thank you very much, Gary. More from you throughout the racing, what could be the last race. And that picture, Ken Reed, really tells the story. The ebb tide, no question about it.
This is actually the strongest ebb tide that we've seen in the entire regatta. 3-knot ebb tide rushing out of San Francisco Bay. It does 2 things. It makes the race course wider, but at the same time, it really adds to the chop. The wind going against the tide makes for very choppy conditions. Another condition that we probably haven't seen much of in this event so far. The race course itself, I think, again, Todd, will be a battle for that left-hand side of the starting line. Oracle has that advantage this time, up and down the waterfront, maybe onto a historical finish right in front of America's Cup Park.
So there's the course, there's the conditions, there's the boat that needs to win. Oracle Team USA, the defenders of the America's Cup, now in a must-win situation. As Gary and Ken have both pointed out, they will be very aggressive at the start line as they have port entry. We want to educate you on what you might see in this next start. In Know the Game, it's called the hook.
As the boats enter the starting box, they begin the dance, which in many cases determines the outcome of the race. Skippers will use their instincts to gain an advantage over their opponent. The primary tactic is for the boat coming from behind, or the blue boat, to do what's called a hook. If the boat ahead, or the yellow boat, is early to the line or too far up the line towards the wind, the boat behind times a last-minute attack and tucks in close to leeward or downwind of the boat ahead. The attacking boat hooks the defensive boat and holds him into the wind until the defensive boat slows nearly to a stop, all while planning a quick getaway and a large lead at mark number 1. Knowing the game means understanding the rules, an integral part of sailboat racing at any level.
So the current, a huge factor, as Gary Jobson reported from his position on board. Regardless, the committee boat, the wind not as much of a factor as it's holding steady at around 17 knots, but that ebb tide, the water rushing out of the San Francisco Bay, really is going to play a key factor. And Ken, what's it going to do to this race course? Where are you going to want to be, and where's the sweet spot?
Well, that left-hand side of the line, the low side, the leeward end of the starting line, has now been favored every single start with this ebb current. So look for both boats to be fighting for it, but definitely give the advantage to the USA. Going into this start box, they will be coming from the favored left side of the start box as we look at the screen right now.
Coming up on 3.5 minutes to go until this race will be underway, as Oracle Team USA knows exactly what they have to do. They have to win.
Just go around it, eh? What are we killing here? Here we go, jiving.
I'd love to know what's going through Jimmy Spithill's mind right now. It is.
Killing 24 on the box.
They've worked so hard to get to this point, literally for years now, Todd.
20 on the box.
Well, I think it's kind of like a basketball player, a young kid that's practiced his whole life for that last 3-second shot. This is it for him right now. He can win this race. The wind is up. That's what they like. He's got the port entry, good attitude. Go win the race.
You think about the pressure on the shoulders of Jimmy Spithill at 34 years of age, Larry Ellison, Sir Russell Coots, what they've done holding on to the cup here on home waters. And here comes Emirates Team New Zealand, making very few mistakes. Ray Davies may be the best tactician in the world, and Dean Barker certainly is one of the best skippers in the world.
Ray Davies has very clearly, I mean, he had made a name for himself prior to this event, but he exits with a win. He exits this event as a star for Team New Zealand in this series.
So the Americans have entered, and now the race is on for the America's Cup. Can Oracle Team USA hold on to it, or will this be the knockout punch from the Kiwis?
I look for the Kiwis to try a different strategy here. Maybe to try to cut in front of Oracle and be really early back to the start. No matter what, the other method of the pushing and blocking has not worked for that boat coming from the right side. Let's see if they try something new.
Slice for John. Go board to him. He continues there. He's going straight.
1:20 to start as we check in on the water with Gary Jobson.
I like Dean Barker's move here, Todd. Just stay away from Oracle, and I look for them to be on the windward end. If starting line is slanted, that could help the windward boat, even though the current is ebbing.
15 to kill.
Get settled here before we look at a push. I think he'll struggle to
Not far off racing.
We're only killing 18.
The talking about killing time here, Todd. Both boats are actually fairly far away from this starting line right now.
And it looks like the Kiwis are almost up to speed. Are they going to try to hit this thing with time and distance?
Nice move by New Zealand.
Kiwis are trying to create a gap so they can accelerate, but I think they're going to get blocked out again. Here come the Kiwis looking for that weather end start, gaining acceleration early.
Too much wind.
New time sequence, 15 minutes to start. We hit the wind limit. We hit the wind limit.
And just before they hit the line, the race has been postponed. So the wind limit was reached, and Ken, I got to ask you, who does this hurt more?
Oh no, that is remarkable. What a shame. The Kiwis would, all Kiwis fans would be saying right now that the Kiwis had their start one. Oracle would maintain that the Kiwis fouled them trying to blast by at the last second.
Well, the New Zealand taking that windward position with the slanted line really worked out pretty well.
Yeah, but Gary, Oracle definitely threw a flag at him, definitely protested the Kiwis in that situation. I'm not so sure that the Kiwis didn't foul him. They just tried to rip it right by him, and windward lured, Oracle has the right of way.
Yeah, but they never got closer within a length. I think New Zealand would have been fine, but it's a moot point.
The big question is, do these guys know that the race has been called off? Because Emirates Team New Zealand looks like they are in full race mode.
Well, certainly their chase boat will come alongside here quickly and tell them.
Roger, you copy Oracle.
Oh, Todd, this is really frustrating for the whole sailing world. Listen, everybody at home, we feel for you. We're living the same thing right now, but trust me, none of us are more frustrated than these two boats full of sailors right now.
Nice little trick to get some riding moment.
Well, we still have 22 minutes, so they could still get a race in here today. By the way, we missed by 2/10 of a knot.
Gary, how long before the start did the trigger get pulled?
About 15 seconds. And then, had they started, it would have been a 5-minute average. They probably would have been okay.
Exactly.
And they've just reset it again, so it went over the wind limit.
Yeah, Todd, the big shame certainly is it's a 30-second average where it goes above the limit in the pre-start, and then after the start of the race, it's a 5-minute average. It's a big difference.
Is there any way you could get with the teams and say, we know the wind builds in San Francisco later in the day. How about we shorten the time in between by 5 minutes and we get the race in?
Todd, you're actually trying to think that common sense has anything to do with this. Be careful. This is the America's Cup.
I just think thinking for the folks at home are going, well, if it gets windier in the afternoon, then why not just move it up 5 or 10 minutes and you get the race in?
Yep.
14 minutes.
So as we go now under 14 minutes, everyone looking to the water, looking to the wind to see if we can get this race off. As Gary Jobson reported, after 2:40, there cannot be another race started.
All right, I have the news here that is going to break all Kiwi fans' hearts. That foul right after the start would have been green flagged by the umpires. Therefore, Team New Zealand would have been blazed off, and they would have been ahead at that first mark.
That is neither here nor there.
But to answer your question, though, you ask who does this advantage more? Now it's a very huge advantage to Oracle because that protest would have been green flagged.
Well, they had talked about this weather situation yesterday after day number 7 was washed away, and it's been reset yet again. So we're now to 16 minutes, and the clock keeps going backwards. Gary, they talked about this yesterday, that it was a possibility of this happening, that it was going to build in the afternoon. It'll probably die down after 4 or 5 o'clock, but rules are the rules, I suppose.
Well, we have till 2:40 local time, and I'm sitting here with Ian Murray, the man that makes these final decisions. And I'm just wondering, Ian, what do you think of the chances are today?
Look, we keep hitting the wind limit every minute. The breeze has just jumped 3 or 4 knots, and it's just taking us over. So we've only got 3 more minutes to get it in before the latest possible race start, and we'll keep going up to that. But not looking promising all of a sudden.
How much did we miss it by here on that start?
About 30 seconds.
A little bit of a shame.
Well, the rules are the rules. But the 5-minute wind limit probably would have gone over during the race, so probably nicer to call it off before the start rather than in the middle of the race.
And what about the current tomorrow?
It starts to get better tomorrow, so we will have less current.
All righty, well, that's a real shame, but we've got about 20 minutes to see if the wind goes down.
No, we're down to about 3 minutes.
So we will know something in 3 minutes. The most important thing to know right now is a 3.1 knot ebb, which means the new wind limit for this race is 19.9. And Ken, that's kind of like going to a city like Seattle and saying, gosh, I hope it doesn't rain in October. It's just not going to happen this late in the season in San Francisco and this late in the afternoon.
Looks like on Emirates Team New Zealand right now, they have some sail repair tape out. I don't know what they're trying to tape up, but that's just what's called sticky back. And they probably put a little patch over something.
So repairs are taking place on Emirates Team New Zealand. The wind has put a halt to racing right now. Oracle Team USA will get themselves in position, and in 2 minutes we should know if race 12 will get away. $13.50 is the magic time. If we do not spike over the wind limit, which is 19.9 knots, we will see race number 12, and the Kiwis will have an opportunity to clinch the America's Cup. If that is not reached and the race is pushed back even more, then we will not have a race and we will be done for the day. And that yellow that you see above the line is something that's really causing the problems. So the limit 19.9. We are peaking now at holding steady at 20.3. You can see just how close it is. And it has been reset one more time as the countdown from 15 begins yet again.
15 minutes. Okay.
So the clock was reset and the wind limit was reached one more time. As we mentioned, 19.9 with correction from ebb current. And that's why it's come down so very much. We go back to the start of that race that we just saw, and the Kiwis certainly had the advantage. They didn't have port tack, but they certainly had the advantage. And if this thing had gone away, Ken, they were in a perfect position.
So it's called gapping off, and they decided to keep a big gap between the two boats and just have a running start here. Oracle's trying to get to them and create a windward leeward or an overlap and luff the Kiwis on the way through, get the Kiwis to foul. We weren't sure at this stage how close the two boats were, but we do know that Emirates Team New Zealand would have been in a dominant spot to roll over the top of Oracle, give them disturbed air, that wing wash that we've been talking about, and be first to this mark. Fact is, the race has already been canceled, and the rest is history. A shame for Emirates Team New Zealand, though.
So there are the boys from Emirates Team New Zealand doing repairs. We have no idea what they're working on there, but they have roughly half the crew underneath making some kind of changes or repairs to the boat.
And it looks like they're using sticky back on the carbon fiber, probably some sort of fairing that's underneath that end plate that's under the wing. Something has come loose there, and they're trying to put sticky back up there. Not simple, Todd, because you got to believe that thing is soaking wet.
Now, let's not forget, if Emirates Team New Zealand had a major problem here and this boat wasn't ready to go, they still have that provisional card where they can waive off a race. But, Ken, I don't think they're going to have to use it because the race has just now been pushed back once again to the limit at 2:40.
We feel for all of you sailing fans out there, believe me. Nobody wants this predicament. Nobody's rooting for this sort of wind limit situation, this strong ebb tide lowering it. But again, I'll repeat one more time, it was put in effect for safety reasons after the tragedy in May to Artemis Racing. Rules are rules, Todd. There's nothing anybody can do about it. It was done for the right reasons. It was done to try to make these sailors safer. The families wanted to do it. The sailors wanted to do it. Everybody agreed to do it. Hey, it's not perfect on a day like today. There's no doubt about it.
So we go back on board the committee boat. Gary Jobson with the very latest of what we may or may not have today, as the clock now still over 15 minutes.
Yeah, kind of sad, Todd. Everybody wants to race out here, but this is it. If it goes over one more time, it's over.
3, 2, 1. 15 minutes to start.
So once again, the most active sport on the bay right now is clock watching, as everyone looks at the numbers to see if we can in fact possibly get a race in as the wind continues to peak and repairs being made to the boat here at Emirates.
Race committee. We've had the wind limit inside the 15 minutes, and that is so racing is terminated for the day. No more racing today. Sorry, guys.
So it's been official. Racing has been terminated for the day. The postponement is on, and we will have to move to day number 9 to wrap this thing up. Gary, as Ken said, everyone is frustrated.
Everybody's frustrated, but let's not forget, this America's Cup's not over. For Jimmy Spithill, a time to reset, analyze the starts. He had 2 bad ones today. He's got to come out swinging. For New Zealand, don't change a thing. Just keep doing what you're doing. They have another day. So we'll look forward to tomorrow.
And Gary, you're down on there, and they have the latest telemetry. What does it look like for tomorrow? Are we going to be in the same situation?
Well, the wind is going to be just a little bit less earlier in the day, and the current's still going to be strong. So probably the same thing. Good chance of getting the first race in. The second race very much at risk.
So the day is done for racing here on the San Francisco Bay as Mother Nature rules, and we will step aside and we will wrap things up when we return to San Francisco. Well, Dean Barker and company, what do you think, Ken? The chances are they go out and do a little practicing, or do they take it right back to the dock?
I think it's back to the barn for these guys. No reason to risk breaking anything right now. They'll go down the lighter air side of the bay, over on the Sausalito side of the bay. Just hope that they're going to hope that they can possibly get a race in tomorrow or 2, and we'll see if Oracle could ever possibly climb this 8-race mountain that they found themselves at the bottom of.
But the way Mother Nature has been and the way this situation is with the rules and all, they just one race it, and we could stretch this thing out. I mean, you're talking about potentially, just a big stretch, but potentially 8 more days of racing.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving, Todd?
Trick-or-treating in San Francisco, nothing better. So race 12 is postponed, and it will move to day number 9. And you look at the schedule, we were scheduled to have 2 races a day. We're on day number 9, and we are just into 11 races. So that can tell you just how finicky the weather has been here in San Francisco, but no big surprise. So as Regardless makes their way back to the shore, Dean Barker and company look to be in full racing mode still, and I'm sure they're probably the most frustrated of everyone, as an entire nation of more than 4 million people were sitting by their TVs and watching and maybe cashing in a day off from work to see the America's Cup clinched. They'll have to wait another day.
The gross national product of New Zealand is dropping by the day. They need to hurry up and end this thing so people can get back to work. Todd, what this has shown with the weather is how predictably unpredictable this is. You know, you just think of San Francisco Bay, it blows hard every day, but remember, all the weather forecasts were for like a 60-knot maximum today. And you heard the guys in the committee boat right at the last minute say, man, this looks a lot like yesterday. Nobody was expecting this 3 or 4 knot jump in the wind speed at the end of the day. So it's really, this is a tough spot for everybody, including the weathermen.
There is Oracle Team USA making their way back home, so they live another day. It'll move on to day number 9. Race number 12 will be contested. It looks good earlier in the day, which will kick off around 1:15. But again, the same situation here in San Francisco. The wind will build, the ebb tide will build, and so the second race of the day is always the one that is in jeopardy. So if the Americans can win tomorrow in the first race, Mother Nature steps in again, then you're looking at Friday. They can do it again, then you're looking at Saturday. And this could easily go into next week if Jimmy Spithill and company can get one race a day and let Mother Nature take care of the second race of the day, and this will be a one race a day regatta. For the time being, though, we want to take you back to day number 1 of racing here at the 34th America's Cup. It's Oracle Team USA and Emirates Team New Zealand.
So here it is, Emirates Team New Zealand on the left-hand side, entering on port tack and building speed. Nathan, as you said, 2 minutes 10 seconds is the port boat's entry time, and that's done for safety. Oracle Team USA will enter the start on starboard at exactly 2 minutes. And we're into the pre-start here in race number 1.
Looks like it was pretty good time on distance there, and we'll see Jimmy coming here, and we expect him to jibe. That seems to be the key move. So we'll look for him to jibe, and then it's up to Dean to decide when he wants to lead back to the start line here.
You hear the guys talking on board, distance to the boundary, distance to the next maneuver. Before each team will head back to the line. The question now on board Emirates Team New Zealand. Will they turn back first? 1:35 to go.
And here they go, moving into attack. So big call here, rolling into attack, and we expect Jimmy Spithill is probably going to make an aggressive move here and tack directly in front of him. We'll wait and see what he decides to do. Big decision there. So he's going for the jibe. And I think Dean turned around at the right time there. About 1:30 he started the turn.
They're holding.
And let's just listen on board, see what they've got to say.
Gotta go hot. Yeah, he's down a little now. Come on, mate, go with it. He can't. He's locked.
Going speed here.
He's going over the top.
Full speed.
50 seconds to go, the two teams converging.
Yeah, what we could hear there is Tom Slingsby behind Jimmy saying he's locked. He can't go behind us. He's going to try and roll us, so be ready to defend the roll. And they're still a long way from the line with a bit of time to kill here.
Can't get to the boat. Only 13 to kill, Dino.
So, Oracle Team USA to leeward, to the left. Emirates Team New Zealand to windward. Who would you rather be?
I'm liking where Dean is at the moment. I think he's in a good position. I heard Ray Davies say we can't get locked out at the windward end. So it's a time on distance starts between the two boats, and we're about to find out who's faster on each one.
So we are just 15 seconds away from the moment where the entire sailing world holds its breath. It's Oracle Team USA to leeward, Emirates Team New Zealand to windward as they approach the line for the start of race number 1 of the 34th America's Cup.
All clear, all clear.
Nice guys.
It looked like Jimmy was a little bit late there on that start. Dean did a really good job on the time on distance. He's got his bow forward. I think Oracle still has wind clear, but as you can see here, Dean just seems to be a little faster on the first reach.
The wing wash coming off of Emirates Team New Zealand, and Nathan, it looks like they might have a slight edge. Who will get into the zone at mark number 1 first? This moment is huge, and it belongs to Emirates Team New Zealand.
Wow, really close moments there, just pushing hard to get around the mark on in front. And once again, Team New Zealand, always first around mark 1, aren't they?
And the delta, just a couple seconds, 4 to be exact, and we're on our way, ripping downwind, both boats up on the foils. What an amazing start to this first race.
It couldn't have been closer if you tried, and this is the key moment. Let's see who's good at these jobs. We know Team New Zealand are really good. Looks like Jimmy's going to go a little further, go a little bit closer to that boundary and just do a jibe not under any pressure. But again, look at that amazing jibe by Team New Zealand.
Happy to go here. Go bottom. Go forward, Simon.
Nathan, you were right. The crew work from Emirates Team New Zealand, flawless as you would expect. Now it's Oracle Team USA's turn. Foil to foil job.
Yeah, well, these guys have obviously been watching very closely what Team New Zealand have been doing. And, you know, it's going to be a pretty good race here. It looks like the Kiwis are slightly out in front when we go to the overhead picture here. And it'll be interesting to see now a speed difference between the two boats. Looking like the Kiwis are slightly faster at the moment.
Now we'll go through a replay of leg number 1, and Nathan, talk us through it.
Yeah, it was really tight. I think Dean did a better job on the time on distance, and he seemed to be just a little bit faster on the first reach there, and looked like Jimmy just, you can see the red light there flashing. He went for a protest. He's trying to get a luff here in coming into Mark 1. Didn't quite get successful though.
There's the luff you're referring to. No blood, no foul. Emirates Team New Zealand crosses just ahead of Oracle Team USA. Look at that, incredibly close.
And we did say he was going to be aggressive, and these boats are doing 40 knots of boat speed, and that's a big maneuver there. You know, you would hate to have the boats come together, but unfortunately that push for a penalty didn't really end up coming to his advantage.
Here we go, the first cross on the run. Emirates Team New Zealand has still got it, but only just about 2 lengths in it.
Well, we did say it was going to be a close race, and check that out. That's the closest cross we've seen in any racing to date. And I think, you know, they're going to go a little further here and look at a jibe closer out to the boundary.
On board, Oracle Team USA.
Nice, Tommy. Go in.
That's a pretty nice jibe, bottom speed of 30 knots. I heard them saying they've been doing a few in that kind of vicinity, and I think they've jibed in a really good spot there, because now they're on starboard tack. Boat never touched the water the whole way through that jibe, and when Team New Zealand jibe back onto port, they're going to have a really tough situation here to cross ahead of USA.
This way, 50 the other. Standing by.
Setting up for a jibe on board Emirates Team New Zealand with Dean Barker at the helm.
Once again, another nice jibe there, full foiling jibe, but just textbook stuff for these guys. And you know, I'm interested to see how tight this cross is going to be. Looks like they're going to just get ahead of them here.
Under the rules, Oracle Team USA has right of way if it's close, but it's not. Emirates Team New Zealand has got it.
Wow, check that out. That's close, isn't it? I heard JK say marginal cross here, and looked like Jimmy tried to hunt him down a little bit to try and get a penalty, but clear cross there for Emirates Team New Zealand, and shaping up to be a really good race coming into the bottom mark.
30 seconds the other way. How can we go? Ready?
So far we have seen a very smooth Emirates Team New Zealand, a very aggressive Oracle Team USA. They tried to luff him after the start on the first reach, and you just saw that bobble there. Jimmy Spithill acted like he had to change course, but no penalty there. So it's all even as far as penalties are concerned as we head into the leeward gates, mark number 2.
And Oracle here jibing on the lail under the bottom mark. Look at that. Once again, another perfect foiling jibe, and shaping up to be a really close race bottom mark here. Emirates Team New Zealand, I don't think, are on the ley line to the bottom mark, so they need another jibe to come here. That's a good spot to jibe there by Dean. I think he jibed directly in front of Jimmy, not letting him have any passing moments, and they're going to round within 2 lengths of each other here at the bottom mark.
Man, fantastic. Look how close it is. This is terrific. This is the close racing everybody around the world was hoping for. Mark number 2, the leeward marks. It's Emirates Team New Zealand ahead. Still the delta, only 4 seconds.
Yeah, really close here, and Dean looked like he pointed really high around that bottom mark to really try and get in Jimmy's way. And look at that close situation, and Dean goes around the outside, and he's going to take the starboard advantage. So I think that's a huge gain there for Oracle.
Another protest filed by Oracle Team USA. The umpires will make the call, but there is definitely an overlap. The race is dead even at this point.
And we said Jimmy was going to be aggressive, and that's the 3rd time we've seen them use the protest flag, and looks like Team New Zealand also went for a protest there. So we'll wait for the jury to come up with a decision on that mark rounding.
Very close now. Both boats head to the left as we take a look at a replay. Here we are at the bottom mark, Nathan.
You can hear the voices on board here, and it looks like they've gone the outside to try and get a luff. It looked like to me that Dean just was a little bit slow coming out of the bottom mark, and Jimmy took the chance to come in fast, foiling here around the bottom market, and goes around the outside. And as soon as he gets the overlap to leeward, you'll watch here, it looks like he tries to just give him a little bit of luff. You know, there's no contact between the boats, and at this moment, Dean has no option but to tack. And the umpires obviously decided not an issue there, and the race continues.
Pretty even mode.
Back in the race, we're heading upwind. You heard John Kostecki there saying he cannot cross. Nathan, what's he referring to?
Well, what he's referring to here is that, you know, as you can see on the Emirates boat, looking at team to Oracle in the distance there, they're on starboard tack. They have the right of way. And it looks like Oracle's made a gain by going up the cone behind Alcatraz. And even though you're looking at this shot here, they are ahead by 92 meters. When they tack, they're not going to get clear across. So it's a really strong position here for USA.
Little gains to them.
We'll have a look straight out of it.
Chance to cross.
10. Standing by in 3, 2, 1, tacking.
This is going to be a huge moment in the race. We know they were dead even around the leeward mark. We know Emirates Team New Zealand, under the rules, will have to avoid if it's close. Oracle Team USA on starboard, and it's bow to bow.
Going for a dip here.
I just heard there they're going for a dip, so we'll see if there's a dial down coming here. Jimmy might decide to dial down at Emirates too.
There's the cross. Oracle Team USA have done it. A lead change, and the Americans are now in the lead.
Sounds like from Jimmy there, he wants to go all the way into the boundary from here. They've made the gain. Now the important thing is that when they tack back onto port, that they continue to lead this race. So they need to keep pushing hard here to cross Emirates Team New Zealand when they come back together.
This is fantastic stuff. These two teams trading blows like two prize fighters, incredibly evenly matched. Here comes another cross.
Big moment coming here again. I heard, you know, we need to make this cross from the guys on board, and let's just listen to see what happens here.
100% of the cross or not? Okay. Cross. Go win, come in.
Close cross, Emirates Team New Zealand on starboard. Oracle Team USA have got it.
Standing by at 10.
That's a very close cross and extremely important, because from here, I think Oracle are going to just extend a little further out into the middle. They know they have the starboard advantage coming back. It looked like the Emirates Team New Zealand called for a protest, and the umpires called no protest, no penalty. So, you know, they're going at it. Both teams are going really hard at it. It's exactly what you expect in the first race of the America's Cup.
Just let us know about the mode too, okay? What do you think of the mode, swingers? All right?
Very similar.
What you could hear there is Jimmy asking Tom Slingsby, who's right behind him, what do you think of the mode? Because Jimmy, to keep this boat going fast, needs to keep looking forward. You can see how close everything is together on the boat. And Tommy there is facing backwards, always looking at the other boat, and this will be the first chance we really get to see how fast they are together.
A little left, but just so you know.
Happy to set up.
Stand by, guys. Please hit. 4, 3, 2, 1, here we go.
Another tack from Oracle Team USA. Potentially another dip from Emirates Team New Zealand, the boat that has to give way as the Americans head to the left of the race course.
Let's have a listen on New Zealand and see what their plan is from here. They've got to get back into this race somehow.
10. Standing by in 3, 2, 1, tacking.
So Nathan, it looks like the Kiwis are going to stay with the American team heading towards the upper left, and early on in the show you told us based on the current there's some relief up there, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're about halfway up the beat now, and you can see them coming up towards the Golden Gate Yacht Club, and the current is definitely a lot more favourable going upwind on the left. We've got a bit of flood on the outside, about a knot or so, and on the inside it's slack water or maybe even a little ebb. So that's why Oracle are happy to get rid of the starboard advantage in this situation and get into the shore and get current relief.
That is a different Dean Barker than we have seen in the Louis Vuitton Cup. His face looks intense, and it should be, considering how this race is going.
To me, it looks like they've come offshore a little further. They had no choice, but they've gone out there anyway, and it looks like they've got a little bit of a right-hand shift, and we're going low mode for a while. But when we go to the helicopter shot here now, it looks like it's starting to go left on the shore. You can see that current line just inside of the boundary, and you'll expect Oracle to tack here pretty soon before this boundary and maybe make a small gain. But again, a very tight cross coming up.
2, 1, here we go, tacking, high build.
So the current will advantage Oracle Team USA on this left-hand side, but the rules a disadvantage. They're on port. Emirates Team New Zealand has rights at the next cross.
Let's go. Go, go, go.
Have a look at that. It is another lead change. Now New Zealand's out in front.
Oh, this race has got everything so far. How good's this? This is what we've been waiting for 2 months, and finally we've got it. And it looked like Oracle just didn't make the cross. They slowed a little out of the tack to let New Zealand get across in there. And now we've got another really tight lineup here. Now we're going to find out which boat's faster upwind. This is the first time they've really been close together, not affecting each other's wind, and we'll listen in on board and see what they think.
He is vulnerable if we tack. He has to time it perfectly, Jimmy. He's slightly faster, slightly lower. VMG slightly to him. Okay, we'll be trying. I even have him slightly, maybe crossing in attack here. Okay.
So to me, that doesn't sound good for Oracle at this moment. Tom Slingsby's saying they're a little faster, a little lower, and you can see there on the graphics, 24 knots versus 22. So looking like attack coming here from Oracle.
Do it quick, 2, 1, here we go, attacking.
You expect, yeah, there you go, tacking straight away with him. So they both want to go left, and how impressive is that from Team New Zealand to make that little gain, and now they've got control of the race.
Simultaneous tacks as Emirates Team New Zealand closes the door on Oracle Team USA and solidifies this lead a length and a half.
And that forces Oracle to tack out again. So Dean Barker and his crew, they must be really happy with that maneuver. Oracle were trying to tack, get to shore and get back into the favoured side, and they were able to cover them, force them the wrong way. And I expect that the next cross coming that Emirates Team New Zealand will have a nice little lead.
6, 7 lengths above us. 10 lengths. That way. Go back, quick girl.
Here's, we're looking at upwind VMG, the fastest course to the next mark, balancing boat speed and course angle.
So what we're looking at here is the top numbers, the boat speed of the boats through the water. The next one's the angle they're sailing to the breeze. And then the bottom one is an overall boat speed and angle put together. So you can see here, Oracle USA, you know, they're going a little bit quicker than Emirates Team New Zealand at the moment. But if you average those two numbers, basically you want to go as fast as you can and as high as you can to the top mark.
Let's set up here, guys. 10. Standing by. 3.
Emirates Team New Zealand looks as though they're getting more comfortable with this lead as they tack yet again.
Come on, boys. Stick it in.
Going to lay line right.
Good comms on board. Yeah, really good comms on board here. You can see they've tacked in a really good position, and you can see the wing wash shot here. It looks like Oracle are just forward of it. They've got wind coming around the front of Emirates Team New Zealand, so they didn't tack in a position to slow the other team down, but they tacked in a position to maintain control of this race, and that's exactly what they're doing, staying between Oracle and the top mark.
Hear how hard these guys are working on board.
Very different to the races we've seen before where the lead boat just seems to stretch away. These guys are working hard for this lead, and all I can hear on board is just puffing the whole time.
50 seconds to boundary. 50 copy. No rush to drive. That's forced out. Yeah, boundary drive is nice. Yeah, great.
I'm just hearing Ray there with the comments. They've tacked on the ley line to the top mark, and now he's feeding information about what are we going to do after the top mark. you know, how far do we have once we come around the mark to the boundary, and they've done an amazing job from leading around the bottom up to being passed and now back in front again. It's got to be, they've got to be happy right now.
Oh, I'm sure they are. And now the pressure shifts to Oracle Team USA behind them. This will be the final run on this race course, but it is definitely Emirates Team New Zealand strong as they head around the top marks. It'll be a right-hand turn around the right gate.
Beautiful conditions out there, isn't it? You know, it's sort of 16 to 18 knots and the boat ripping around the mark at 43 knots of boat speed. And from here, you know, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot Oracle can do except follow. Another tacky is going to slow them down, and we'll just watch them around the mark here and listen to what their plan is from here.
So 4 seconds was the delta at the leeward gate here at the top mark. It is 25 seconds, the delta, Emirates Team New Zealand over Oracle Team USA.
45 seconds. 35.
Jimmy Spithill on board, Oracle Team USA. He does not look very happy with this situation.
15. Little bit of a pump on here. Stand by, guys. 10 seconds. Go button, Tommy. Go forward, Simon.
You can see here they have to jibe before the boundary. They don't have many options on this downwind. They had to follow around that top mark, and now they're just relying on boat speed to try and make a gain down this run. But you can see there, 39 knots. It's pretty hard to catch a boat when they're doing 40 knots of boat speed.
Nathan, put yourself inside the head of Jimmy Spithill. Very aggressive on the start. They were behind. They passed them at the leeward mark. They were in a strong position, but then they've got passed again. Now the view in front of them is Emirates Team New Zealand's transom, and that's got to be tough for Spithill to swallow.
It is. It's very tough. You know, obviously they made a mistake on that beat. They let the Kiwis get the starboard tack advantage, and as we saw when they got to the shore, they didn't make the cross. And there's nothing you can do about that now. All they got to do is just keep this boat going fast and just wait for an error to come up ahead. But you know, we've seen the Kiwis sail time and time again, and pretty unlikely that's going to happen. So they're just got to keep pushing here, and we'll listen on board and see what their plan is.
Take a little on. Yeah, if you can, Simeon. Little wind.
To me, it looks like from this shot, they do sail a little bit lower than Emirates Team New Zealand, so maybe they've got a little bit more wind than the Kiwis.
Still another 30 seconds.
So very similar in speeds, but do you think the Americans have a little angle advantage sailing downwind?
Yeah, it's just looking from this shot, it looks like they're pointing lower, and you can see on this graphic, very similar speeds, but Emirates Team New Zealand are at an angle of 146, whereas Oracle are at 150. So it looks like they're just making a small gain, and you can see the bottom number, the V and G, is about a knot difference. So, you know, it's 29, 30 knots to 31 knots. So Oracle have a faster boat, as we always thought, but Emirates are doing a great job of getting their boat around the racetrack.
Dean Barker told us in a press conference earlier that if you lead around the top mark going into the final run, it's going to be very hard for the trailing boat to pass. He's in a defensive mode at this point.
Once again, a very nice jibe there, and they weren't under any pressure this time. They knew they had a nice lead, and I could hear Ray Davies the whole time going, we're just talking about, you know, 2 minutes this way, 1 minute 30 that way. They're just shaping up so they can round the bottom mark without any errors, and looks like they've jibed in a position, so they've got one more jibe and then they round the bottom mark to the finish from here.
110.
Sounds pretty calm on board now, less puffing, and they're just sort of relaxing into this race. And looking at the boat speeds, I can see on the right-hand side here, it's 40 knots of boat speed at Emirates Team New Zealand at the moment versus a 36 knots from Oracle. So it's pretty puffy out there. The only reason you get those differences in boat speed is because you're in better puffs, and looking like they're just heading down to the ley line out to the left there at the moment, and Oracle have no choice now but to split and try and make a gain going a different direction.
Happy to go. Stand by, guys. Go Tommy, go button. Go forward, Simeon.
Oracle Team USA off to the right-hand side, looking downwind. Jibing back into the center of the course, giving chase to Emirates Team New Zealand. New Zealand doing the same, jibing in to the final turning marks. In front of them, the finish line. Behind them, Oracle Team USA. And this is a view that Kiwi fans around the world had hoped to see. An impressive race for the Kiwis so far.
Yeah, very solid of these guys. You know, they made one error at the bottom mark and let Oracle get into the race. Then they lost the lead and then they got it back. So they've got to be pretty happy at the moment.
Here they go, skidding around the final turn. The finish line out in front. It's Emirates Team New Zealand. The delta increasing and time running out for Oracle Team USA.
You can see some of the new features on their boat there in this shot. They've got these new fairings on the aft of the boat, and I wonder if that's made a difference in their performance going forward. I heard a lot of talk about the additions they've made to their boat, and maybe that's what's just helped them out in those tight situations when they need that extra bit of boat speed.
Well, they certainly have it now. Here's the delta as Oracle Team USA rounds the mark, 34 seconds behind the Kiwis. It was close at Mark 1. It was close downwind. It was close upwind again until the Kiwis finally took control. The Americans know it. All of the fans here in San Francisco and at America's Cup Park and around the world, and certainly down at that tiny nation of New Zealand, will be cheering huge right now. The first race of the America's Cup goes to Emirates Team New Zealand. Look at all the fans on shore. Lots of Kiwi flags flying. What a big moment for Dean Barker and his crew.
A massive moment, and you know, probably a huge relief for these guys. No one knew exactly how this race was going to go. I guess they all had their thoughts. No one wanted to say in the public that they were confident they were going to win, and looking at that first bit, you can see why, can't you? It was a tight race all the way until the last top mark.
Well, that race certainly delivered everything we had hoped for, unless you're a fan of this team, Oracle Team USA. The delta, 36 seconds.
And once again, San Francisco and Mother Nature rule the day. Wind limits exceeded for race number 12. So the Kiwis will have to wait another day for a potentially cup-clinching performance. Ken, we thought this might happen. This is kind of the trend in San Francisco. The weather kind of builds in the afternoon.
Yeah, weather builds in the afternoon. Unfortunately, frustrating for everybody. Listen, if you're Oracle, you're thanking your lucky stars. You lost that start. You're down 8-1, as you can see in the points, and that was the start. Your survival depended on that start. Emirates Team New Zealand came from the unfavored side and rolled over the top of you in the start that you needed more than any other. And if you're Emirates Team New Zealand, hey, you won coming from the unfavored side. You just got to do it again. They just got to continue doing what they're doing. It's obviously working.
So we'll start all over again tomorrow. Race number 12. It'll be day number 9 here as the fans continue to pour out of America's Cup Park. And hopefully Mother Nature will cooperate. Or we could be looking into the weekend as if the Americans and the defenders of the Cup can keep this thing going. So for now, we say so long from beautiful San Francisco, California. On behalf of Gary Jobson and Kenny Reed, Tucker Thompson, Nathan Outridge, I'm Todd Harris saying so long for now. We'll see you tomorrow for more coverage of the 34th America's Cup.